In this third lesson on the CAGED system, we're going to stay with chords for one more lesson. Here, you're going to learn the minor forms of the C, A, G, E, and D chord forms of the CAGED system. This is beneficial because songs are made up of major and minor chords too, right? So it's good to know where a given minor chord lives all over the fretboard because each version is a different voicing as you've been learning, and one of those voices may very well be exactly what you're looking for sonically when you're playing a song written by somebody else or even composing your own tunes. All right, so let's get to it. In the diagram, you see the major and the minor chord in the native position, meaning the first position, right? The open position chord. So here's your C major, and your C, of course, is the open circle note. Okay, now, to make a minor chord, you take the 3 tone, which is the E, and you flatten it to E flat, because all minor chords are spelled 1 flat 3 5, where all major chords are spelled 1 3 5, which in C would be a C, E, and G, and that's a major. Well, if you flatten the 3, that makes it a minor chord, so it's C, E flat, and G. So when I play the major chord, C, no matter where I play it, all I'm playing are 1s, 3s, and 5s, C's, E's, and G's. Now when I turn it into a minor chord, as we do here, I'm playing C, E flat, and G, right? C, E flat, open G, okay? And that's C minor. All right, you with me so far? So what we're going to be doing through this whole lesson is everything will be minor chords, 1s, flat 3s, and 5. And since we'll be doing the C chord up the fretboard, all we're going to be playing are C's, E flats, and G's. All right? So let's get to the next graphic. All right. As you can see, we're doing the associative thing here because I want to be very clear what we're doing. What note is being altered to create the minor chord? So, as you can see on the left, you have the A form of the C chord. As we've been discussing, C is spelled C, E, and G. So all we're playing are C's, E's, and G's. So you have a C, have a G, have another C, and an E, right? So C, E, and G. There's your major chord in the A form, C major. Now, we take that E and we flatten it a half step to E flat, right? So just as we took the A form with the open 5th string being the root and move that up 3 frets to where your root is now C to create the A form of the C and then altering the fingering for ease of playability, so we take the A minor, alter your fingering and lay your first finger across the nut, right? And again, the 5th string is your root tone, so we move the root tone and the whole shape up to the 3rd fret to play the C and now minor in the A form. All right, so there you go. Now we've got a C, we got a G, another C, the E flat, and just for good measure, an additional G. And that creates the A form of the C minor. Now, let's look at the connection. A quick glance at the diagram shows you that the connection for the minor chords is essentially no different than the major chords. So this aspect between the majors and the minors is going to be really easy, if only to reinforce that the connections are identical. So you've got your C minor here, And you've got the C minor here in the A form, with the connection being the 5th string at the 3rd fret root. All right. Let's move on to the G form of the C minor chord. The G form of the C major chord, on the left side of the diagram, you already know. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, we know that E is the 3 tone of the major chord, right here at the 7th fret of the 5th string, and we know we flatten that to create the minor form of the chord, to E flat. So what we have is a C, E flat, G, another C. Now we have another 3 right here, another E, and we can't go down to the E flat here, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring it up a step and a half to another G, and then another C. So we only have one flat 3. However, playing this form is functionally impossible for most people. So let me show you what you can do with it and still use elements of this form. As was done with the G form in the major versions of chords, so we can do here in the minor version of the G form. The major version, remember, was like this. Well, okay, remember E is your 3 tone, which is what's flattened to E flat. So we have a C, E flat, G, and another C. Can't play that because you have to flatten it. So we're just going to focus on the bottom 4 strings to create a little thicker sounding C minor using the G form. Now what we can do is retain the flat 3, the E flat, the G, and the C here, and use this as our root reference, and add another G here, and just play those inside 4 strings. Now it's not written down, but you can lay your little finger down and hit the 1st string high C there to just round it out, right? Now the right-hand side of the diagram, we're actually borrowing from the A form of the C minor. We're borrowing the flat 3, the E flat. These 2 notes remain the same because they are also part of the connection, as you'll find out, between the A and the G form of the minor chord. Then we just add this E flat back in. So we've got an E flat, a G, a C root, and an E flat. So we got 2 flat 3s. And you just play those same inside 4 strings, and there is your your G form of the C minor chord. Okay? Now let's look at the connection. As mentioned a moment ago, the 3rd and 4th strings at the 5th fret, those 2 notes are your connector between the A form of the C minor chord and the G form of the C minor chord. No matter which version of the C minor you play using the G form, those notes are constant in all 3 versions. So the connection here is the same for minor chords as it is with the major chords of the CAGED system. Let's move on to the E form of the C minor chord. Okay, on the left side of the diagram, you have the E form of the C major chord, right? And we have a C, a G, a C. Here's your E, which is the 3, and we're going to flatten the 3 to E flat, right? And then we have a G, and we have another C. So your first finger bars across all of that, and you lift your second finger off, and it's that simple. Now, if you need a little help getting that, use your second finger to press down to get those top 3 notes nice and clean. Right? So you have a C, G, another C, E flat, G, and C again. Okay? Now, let's look at the connection. All right, in the diagram on the left, you see the C minor using the G form. And then you see the connection at the 8th fret on the 6th string, because that's your C root, to the E form of the C minor chord. Again, to reiterate, the connections are the same with the minor chord forms as with the major chord forms. All right? Let's look at the D form of the C minor chord now. All right, the D form of the C major, as you know, is this. So we're playing this extra note here, so that's a G. Here's your C root, another G, another C, and the E. So the E is the 3-tone that we flatten to E flat, right? So now we play the D form of the C minor. And again, you're playing a G, a C, a G, another C, and the E flat to create C minor. All right, let's look at the connection. As with the major forms, these are the 2 notes, the same 2 notes. From the C minor to the C minor, from the E form to the D form of the minor. These 2 notes, the G and the C. All right? So it's pretty straightforward stuff. I know I tend to go over this pretty quickly, but you understand this by now. It's pretty straightforward stuff. All right? So, that said, let's move on to the octave of the C form. Okay, you know the C form. Here we're going to play it at the octave in C, of course. C major. So you've got a C, an E, a G, another C, and another E. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this E and flatten it. And the high E string, we're going to exit out and not play it. So we alter our fingering a little, and we bring our 4th finger over, and there it is. The C, E flat, G, and C. And as you can see, it's not the most comfortable form to play, even up here at the 12th fret. So what we do, as with the G form, is we play with the way it's put together. So let me show you how that works. Okay, what I've got here for you are 2 alternate ways to play the C form. Now what we can do is we can take the whole wad here and get rid of this C, because we have a C here at the 13th fret on the 2nd string. And then we have a G and an E flat. Well, there's our C minor right there. So you can play this little triad partial. The other thing you can do is borrow from the D form of the C minor chord, because these notes are in common between the D form and the C form, as you'll see momentarily. So we're just going to borrow that note right there, and it's another E flat. So we change our fingering of this triad, and then add our 1st finger over here, and you have a beautiful C minor chord in the C form technically, but borrowing from the D form, absolutely. So you could call this a hybrid. All right? So you got your E flat, your G, your C, and another E flat up top. All right? Now, let's look at the connection. All right. So the connection, as we mentioned just a moment ago, is right here on the second and third strings, right here. That's it. Between the D form of the C minor and the hybrided C form of the C minor that borrows from the D form a little bit. This is our C here now, right? And our flat threes are there, and then our G is there. So C, E flat, G, right? And that's it. That's as simple as it gets. And that's the whole thing of the C minor up the fretboard in all 5 positions with a couple of variations along the way. All right? There you have it. The C minor chord in all 5 positions up the fretboard using the CAGED approach. Now, if you have access to the written material, I've included 5 charts. The first of which is the C minor chart, which we went through basically in this lesson. Additionally, you have the A minor, the G minor, the E minor, and the D minor charts as well, showing each of those chords in all 5 positions up the fretboard using the CAGED approach. Now, you really want to study this because this stuff matters, okay? Take your time. Don't rush. Don't gloss over this. Actually study all 5 charts. Play them. Get them under your fingers. Make sure you can actually do this stuff because it matters. And you really want to understand this moving forward because it's going to help you in future lessons, not just in the CAGED system, but in future things that you want to learn to play. Knowledge is power, right? So seize the power being offered to you here today, and you will appreciate that you have acquired that power down the road later, okay? All right, when you are ready for the next lesson, it will be there, as will I. We'll see you then. Hey, thanks for watching. If you press the little red button down there in the corner, you'll be subscribed to Outsmart Your Guitar. If you then hit the notification bell, you'll be informed when we upload new material, which is usually around once a week. Below the video in the description, you will see a link that will take you to where you can download a PDF of the lesson material that accompanies this video. All lessons contain a link to give you access to the written material for that lesson. Below that, you will see a link to Patreon Outsmart Your Guitar, where I have a lot of material that isn't included here. So you may want to check that out. There's 2 levels of subscription. I'd really appreciate if you would become a patron by subscribing at one of the 2 levels and help support my efforts to continue to provide high quality lesson material for you to help you learn, play, and grow to become the guitar player you desire to be. All right, thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hey, we'll see you soon.